Hello there. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. As promised, I'm here with the second part of the CIMA SCS November 2022, February 2023 pre-scene reading. Hottayr, we've got a heating appliance manufacturing company. Let's dive right into it. Just a small reminder, if you want to join the CIMA SCS with AZB coaching program, go to www.cimascs.com and you'll get all the details there. All right, on that note, here we go. The pre-scene reading of the company component, which is basically the second part, which will be quite interesting, of which I must say you are, even though yet unpaid, senior manager of finance. You're going to learn a lot about this company. Let's get started. Hottayr was established in 1952 and it was quoted on Nolan's Stock Exchange in 1967. Hottayr was one of the first companies to specialize in boilers for domestic heating systems. Very few homes had central heating systems when Hottayr was first established, and so the company was one of the first to enter the market for domestic gas boilers. Demand for central heating grew over time, although it was not common for central heating to be installed in new houses until 1970s. By that time, Hottayr was one of the largest manufacturers of gas boilers in the country and had expanded into several export markets. Hottayr continues to manufacture domestic gas central heating boilers. Hottayr has always been heavily involved in product development. Safety is one of their most important components. Hottayr was the first domestic boiler manufacturer to receive a safety award from Nolan Gas. There are very strict standards governing the safety of gas boilers, and Hottayr's policy has always been to exceed those standards. Reliability. Hottayr was the first domestic boiler manufacturer to offer a 10-year guarantee for its boilers. The company's boilers rarely break down, provided they are properly maintained and serviced. All boilers have limited useful lives because of deterioration caused by heat, moisture, and blockages caused by soot, but Hottayr's boilers last for an average of 15 years. Most competitors' boilers require replacement after an average of 12 years. Efficiency. Hottayr's boiler designs have constantly evolved to use less gas, making them cheaper to run and more environmentally friendly. Hottayr patented several features that enable its boilers to create more heat energy from burning a given volume of gas and also waste less heat in bringing water up to the desired temperature. Hottayr's gas boiler factory is located on the outskirts of Nolan's central city. The factory employs 3,800 staff. Many production processes are automated. A large proportion of the factory staff are engaged in quality control activities arising from the need to prevent gas leaks in consumers' homes. Hottayr commenced production of heat pumps for domestic heating systems in 1997. This was regarded as a risky venture at the time because demand was very limited. However, growing concerns about emissions and the need to protect the environment created interest. Some early adopter consumers have replaced their gas boilers with heat pumps despite the significant cost of doing so. Hottayr's main market for heat pumps has been house builders who often install heat pumps in new homes under construction. Consumers regard this as an attractive feature when buying new build houses because they offer lower running costs. All of Hottayr's heat pumps are air source. There is insufficient demand for ground source heat pumps to justify the investment that would be required for their development and manufacture. Hottayr's heat pumps are also subject to the same attention to development and improvement as its gas boilers. Consumer feedback is a factor considered. Hottayr pays close attention to feedback from consumers, particularly with regards to whether their heat pumps are providing sufficient hot water and maintaining their homes at a comfortable temperature. I'm going to read it again. Hottayr pays close attention to feedback from consumers, particularly with regards to whether their heat pumps are providing sufficient hot water and maintaining their homes at a comfortable temperature. Their feedback is an important element of ongoing product development. Product features. Hottayr was one of the first domestic heat pump manufacturers to offer the option of reversing the heat flow so that homes could be cooled during the summer months and heated in winter. Hottayr's heat pumps can connect to consumers' home Wi-Fi, enabling them to use an app on their smartphones to track the heat energy captured by their heat pumps. That data is also automatically uploaded to Hottayr, who uses it to monitor the use of and performance of its heat pumps. Hottayr also uses this Wi-Fi connection to upgrade and update the operating software in heat pumps in order to improve their efficiency. Consumers must decide whether or not to activate their connection after their heat pumps have been installed, but most choose to do so. Activation is a simple process using a smartphone to enter a valid Wi-Fi username and password. All upgrades are then loaded automatically. Hottayr's heat pump factory is located in Nolan's Maxtown. It employs 2,400 staff. Hottayr also maintains a head office that employs 2,600 or 2,600 administrative and management staff who are responsible for a range of functions that include accounting, purchasing, sales, human resources, information technology, and research and development. The head office is located in the business district of Central City. The Information Technology Department is nominally under the control of Hottayr's Chief Finance Officer. There is a data center within the head office supported by a remote backup site at a separate location. IT staff provide programming and data management support for the whole of Hottayr. Hottayr has three main categories of customers. Category 1 are energy providers such as Nolan Gas, which supply and install central heating systems for home owners. Category 2, house building companies. Large house building companies which build housing estates that may have hundreds of homes, each of which requires a central heating system. And builder merchants who provide a wholesale service for smaller businesses such as plumbers, heating engineers, and small house builders who do not order in bulk. Homeowners rarely express any interest in the brand of boiler or heat pump in their central heating system. New homes come equipped with heating systems. Owners who are replacing existing heating systems will usually rely on their installers to recommend the most suitable heat source. Installers often recommend Hottayr's boilers because they have an excellent reputation for quality and efficiency. Hottayr's heat pumps are also regarded as offering excellent quality and efficiency. They are quieter in operation than most competing brands. That is an important consideration because the electric pump used to drive the flow of refrigerant must be running whenever the heating is switched on. Hottayr exports its boilers to several countries, all of which are in the same geographical region as Noland. Export sales are limited by the fact that many countries have warmer climates, and so there is little or no demand for central heating systems in many parts of the world. Hottayr has two main rivals both in Noland and in its export markets. The first is Thermwick, is also based in Noland. It sells boilers and heat pumps that are slightly cheaper and slightly less efficient than Hottayr's. Flonase is based in Eastland, a temperate country with a climate that is colder than Noland's. Eastland's currency is the E-dollar. Flonase is the largest manufacturer of boilers and heat pumps in its home country, although Hottayr also makes some sales in that market. Flonase also exports its boilers to the countries in which Hottayr makes sales, including Noland. Flonase's products are comparable in terms of quality to Hottayr's. Thermwick and Flonase are both more heavily focused on boilers than Hottayr, although Each sells its own range of air source heat pumps. Extracts from Hottayr's annual report, Hottayr's mission and values. The mission is to establish itself as a trustworthy supplier of excellent heating products. The vision is to lead the move towards a zero carbon world, and core values are that Hottayr keeps its promises. Hottayr ensures that it understands the needs of its customers and that it is responsive to those needs. Hottayr is constantly striving to enhance its products, making them safe, efficient, and economical to operate. Hottayr people trust and respect one another. The people of Hottayr, the staff, employees, trust and respect one another, and Hottayr is a safe and healthy place to work. Hottayr's board of directors, before I look at the content, I want to show you the snapshot here. You basically have the executive team with 5 members. Dr. Eva D. Walder sitting at the top as the CEO, Bogdan Amuzesu, the Chief Operating Officer, Elaine Barros, Chief Finance Officer, which is who you are reporting to, Emmanuel Mawanika, Marketing Director, and Professor Amina Rajab, Research Director. So you have the non-executive team. Again, you have 4 members, Martin Gregory as the non-executive chair, sitting in the audit committee and risk, Akira Akiyama, in 3 committees, audit, remuneration and nomination, Patricia Angupa, audit, risk and remuneration, and Ye Haitao, in risk, remuneration and nomination. Let's take a look at who each of them are with a brief understanding of their profiles. Martin Gregory, non-executive chair. Martin was a leading commercial lawyer. He spent most of his career with a major law firm, rising to the rank of partner. He was partner in charge of the firm for 5 years before he retired. In addition to his role with Hottayr, Martin chairs the board of Noland Opera. Martin joined Hottayr's board in 2019. Dr. Eva D. Walder, Chief Executive Officer. Eva is an engineer by profession. She has a doctorate in mechanical engineering from Noland's Capital City University. Eva joined Hottayr as a design engineer in 1998. She played a significant role in the design of Hottayr's heat pumps. She spent several years as Hottayr's head of research before being promoted to Chief Operating Officer in 2012. She was further promoted to Chief Executive Officer 8 years later in 2020. Bogdan Amuzesu, Chief Operating Officer. Bogdan joined Hottayr as a management trainee straight after graduating from university. He has held a number of management roles in Hottayr's factories. He had risen to general manager of the boiler factory before he joined Hottayr's board as Chief Operating Officer in 2020. Elaine Barros, Chief Finance Officer. Elaine is a qualified accountant. She passed her professional examinations while working as a trainee accountant with Noland Steel. She has since held several senior roles in a variety of manufacturing companies. Elaine joined Hottayr's board as Chief Finance Officer in 2019. Emmanuel Mawanika, Marketing Director. Emmanuel studied marketing at Noland's Central City University. Since then, he has worked for a number of major manufacturing companies. He took a career break in 2011 to complete an MBA degree at Capital City University, passing with a distinction. Emmanuel worked as a senior marketing manager with Hottayr from 2014 to 2020, at which time he was promoted to the board as marketing director. Professor Amina Rajab, Research Director. Amina studied mechanical engineering at Central University. She graduated with honors and was offered a place in the university's PhD program. Her doctoral thesis was on the optimization of heat output from heat pumps in cold climates. She remained at the university, being promoted to Professor of Engineering in 2012. She was appointed to Hottayr's board in 2018. She remains a visiting professor at Central City University. And note that she is an executive member and not a non-executive member. Akira Akiyama, Senior Independent Director. Akira spent his career in corporate finance, working in senior roles with major investment banks. He developed an interest in funding wind farms and other enterprises that aimed to reduce energy emissions. He retired in 2019 and was appointed as Hottayr's Senior Independent Director at that time. He is also a non-executive director at the Central City Children's Hospital. Patricia Angupa, independent non-executive director. Patricia had a career in politics. She was the member of parliament for Hightown and Industrial Town in Norland for 17 years. During that time, she served as a junior minister for business. She retired from politics in 2020 and was appointed as a non-executive director by Hottayr. She is also a non-executive director for a television documentary maker. Ye Haitao, independent non-executive director. Ye has held a number of posts with Nolan's government. He has served in a variety of senior roles, assisting in drafting legislation on a diverse range of areas, including transport and pensions. Ye was appointed to Hottayr's board when he retired from full-time employment in 2021. So basically, when you look at the snapshot, you've got the Chief Operating Officer in charge of manufacturing and human resources, the Chief Finance Officer in charge of financial reporting, management accounting, treasury, and information technology, all very much close to the CIMA learning content. The Marketing Director is in charge of promoting and advertising and customer relations, with the Research Director in charge of product development and certification of new products. And when you look at all of this collectively, we understand that Hottayr's Chief Internal Auditor reports to the convener of the audit committee. Of course, we have no idea who that convener exactly is. That brings us to Hottayr's principal risks. As always, you have the risk impact and the risk mitigation headers. So we'll look at each one of them. The first risk identified: central heating systems are expensive, and so Hottayr's product sales are affected by economic cycles and by consumer confidence. Hottayr's board aims to diversify by selling to as many different countries as possible, and that is their mitigation against that. The second risk is that the company is vulnerable to credit risk arising from the fact that customers are themselves exposed to fluctuations in the economy and in consumer confidence. And Hottayr aims to mitigate this through diversification across different markets, as well as setting credit limits for existing customers and conducting credit checks on new customers. Cash flows can be volatile because of fluctuations in revenue and also because of the company's exposure to currency movements. And Hottayr's treasury monitors and manages cash flows and currency exposures, taking appropriate measures to prevent cash deficits and significant currency losses. And the next risk element is the company's employees make a vital contribution to its success. The manufacture and quality control of boilers and heat pumps requires care and precision. So, Hottayr's Human Resources Department conducts monthly meetings with employees' representatives, and Hottayr provides excellent training and funding for part-time study to enable employees to develop skills in order to seek promotion. The company's products require a steady supply of materials, particularly steel, copper, and aluminum. We also make heavy use of semiconductors and other electronic components. These create vulnerabilities both in terms of availability and in pricing. So, what Hottayr does is that it pays close attention to the markets for these commodities. The company has developed strong relationships with key suppliers. The company is vulnerable to changes in legislation relating to emissions and the safety of gas appliances. So, Hottayr more than fulfills all applicable legal requirements for emissions and safety in the countries to which it makes sales. However, Hottayr pays close attention to any proposed changes in the law, working with government agencies around the world to ensure that any proposals are realistic and proportionate. Where necessary, Hottayr alters the design of its products to ensure that their performance exceeds forthcoming changes in the law. And then we have consumer demand for central heating systems, which is said to be affected by environmental concerns, as consumers are more sensitive to it. Hottayr's products are designed to be at the forefront of efficiency, aiming to minimize the emissions of carbon and of harmful refrigerants in their operation. Hottayr aims to educate consumers about the environmental benefits of replacing outdated gas boilers with newer models and with heat pumps. That is the risk register, and that basically brings us to the financial statement of Hottayr. As usual, you have the consolidated statement of profit and loss, changes in equity, and the financial position, which we will be looking at in detail in the financial analysis. Then an analysis of revenues is provided, both in terms of comparison between 2020 to 2021. So those are the 2 years considered, and you're looking at a mix in two aspects. One is the mix of boilers versus heat pumps, and the other is the mix of local sales or Noland sales versus export. So the boilers to heat pumps ratio was 46 to 54 in 2020, and it's at 45 to 55 in 2021, meaning that the heat pump demand is slightly growing even from a perspective of Noland itself. Sorry, Hottayr itself. The Noland to export sales ratio is between 61 to 39 in 2020, but it has gone to 56 to 44. 56 being Noland sales and 44 being export. So we are classically seeing a trend of export sales rising and Noland sales in terms of mix. We don't know. We will have to analyze the numbers further to see how exactly the absolute values, because it could be that even though the Noland sales as a total in absolute terms, in dollar terms, is growing, the mix, the contribution of local sales is decreasing. So we will look at it in the financial analysis. The competitors' financial statements provided are Thermwick Group, which we understood as the company that is based in Noland itself. So it is the local competitor. We have the basic financial statements, P&L, equity statement, and the statement of financial position. And then we have the share price history, and you're classically seeing what we usually tend to see with a company of this kind of caliber, a company that, as we have read and understood, a company that is doing really well, that is maintaining very high standards in quality. The share price has gone up continuously since 2019 March, from about $20 or 20 N dollars to roughly now it stands at about 48 the last, but the highest it has gone is above 60, about maybe 65 N dollars. So there is volatility seen. And let's take a look at the beta. The beta, as the volatility of the share price, the fluctuations indicate, it's a predictable beta of above 1.12. That brings us to the news stories. Let's take a look at each of them. Right, the first one. So we have a question and answer. The first question is, I'm worried about the environment and have been asking my parents to replace our gas boiler with solar panels. They say that solar panels would not heat our house properly. Is that true? Amos, 12 years old, is asking this question. It's a good question. Answer: it is good that you're taking climate change seriously, but it is true that solar panels cannot completely replace gas boilers in Noland. Solar panels rely on having plenty of direct sunlight to heat the water that runs through them. There is no sunlight at night and sometimes very little during the day. For example, when it's cloudy. In countries like Noland, solar panels only work as a supplement to other heat sources such as boilers. They can provide all the hot water needed for baths, showers, and cleaning during summer, but you would still need an additional heat source in winter, especially if you planned to have central heating. There are also practical issues, such as whether your house has a large enough roof to attach solar panels to. You could consider asking your parents to install a heat pump that would cost more than solar panels, but a heat pump can gather heat from outdoors on the coldest and darkest of days and would completely replace your gas boiler. Wow, all right. The second question is from Alexandra, age 13. The question is, my parents had a heat pump installed in our house. So far, it has worked really well. The house is almost as warm inside as it was when we used a gas boiler. There is always plenty of hot water for showers and washing up. The weather has been very cold recently, and I'm worried that there won't be any heat outside for the heat pump to capture and keep our house warm. Answer: you should be okay, even on the coldest of days. Heat energy makes particles of gas, liquid, and solid material vibrate. The hotter they are, the more they vibrate. The vibration slows as things get colder, but it only stops completely when they reach absolute zero, that is equal to minus 273 degrees Celsius. In theory, there is heat energy that can be captured all the way down to absolute zero. In practice, heat pumps run into mechanical difficulties in that if the temperature falls below minus 15 degrees Celsius, but it is never quite that cold in Noland. Your new heat pump will reduce your family's carbon footprint and is capable of keeping you warm right through the winter. Nice. So the third question is from Neta, 12 years old. My parents bought a new freezer recently, and the shop asked if they wanted to pay extra to have the refrigerant from their old one removed and recycled. They agreed, even though the recycling was expensive because the people in the shop that sold the freezer said that letting the refrigerant escape is extremely harmful to the environment in terms of global warming. My question is, why don't we use something else that would be less damaging to the environment? That's a good question. Answer: it is true that hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, that are released when old fridges and freezers are scrapped carelessly are amongst the most damaging of greenhouse gases. So, HFCs are amongst the most damaging of greenhouse gases. They do a great deal of harm when they are released into the atmosphere, especially by depleting the ozone layer. And so, the advice that your parents received was correct. There are alternatives to HFCs that are less harmful to the environment. Unfortunately, they usually have other drawbacks. For example, propane is an effective refrigerant, but it is highly flammable if it escapes. Ammonia is another alternative that works well, but it can be poisonous in high concentrations. So, propane is flammable, ammonia is poisonous in high concentrations, which is how you need it in heating appliances. Then we have the final news story, which is actually literally a news story from Noland Telegraph. Nolandian government commits to net zero by 2040. Noland's government has announced an ambitious plan to reduce the country's greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2040. Greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and the hydrofluorocarbons that are used as refrigerants have been blamed for the phenomenon of global warming. The release of those gases into the atmosphere affects the Earth's temperature by absorbing more heat energy from sunlight. The government's net zero commitment requires a massive reduction in emission levels. The remaining emissions will then be offset by initiatives such as planting trees, which capture carbon from the atmosphere while they are growing. So that's a positive initiative, planting trees, capturing carbon. This legislation will have a huge impact on many aspects of daily life. For example, the government will ban the sale of new petrol and diesel powered cars by 2035 as one step toward meeting the net zero target. Perfect. So, on that note, we are basically done with the reading of the pre-scene assigned for the November and the February 2023 examination. Hottayr is a very interesting company. In fact, it coincided with my personal migration to a cold weather, rather seasonal and a more variant climate here in Canada. I'm already feeling it. You might probably notice my attire. Um, it's a little cold, so I'm dealing with it this way. I hope you don't mind. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope it has helped you absorb the pre-scene in an easy manner. This is CIMA SCS with AZB. Watch out for more content, more useful content. And to join the program, all you have to do is visit www.cimascs, that is CIMASCS.com, the official website, and we can work from there. Or you can also even write to me. Don't forget to check out the YouTube playlist, which has a lot of useful content for you to get started. Pretty much everything to give you a solid foundation of how to prepare for the case study. On that note, good luck. See you around. Happy learning.